As you look at yourself, look at your goals. Here's something that I do now. If you had 6 months to live, 6 months, you knew that, what would you do? How would you spend your time? Who would you spend time with? Would you still be doing the same thing that you're doing now? That's how I resigned from the Ohio legislature. I wrote down, if I had 6 months to live. And this guy, I was reading this book, How to Get Control of Your Time and Your Life. And my sister called me and said, Mama had breast cancer. And what I wrote down, I would resign from the Ohio legislature and go back to Miami and fulfill my promise and commitment to take care of my mama. And then I turned the page, says, as far as you know, this could be your last day. I remember being in Las Vegas at a table with Frank Sinatra. At that time, my wife was Gladys Knight, and I overheard him say to someone, live each day as if it were your last, because one day it will be. So if you had 6 months to live, how would you spend your time? What are the things that you would do? What are the grudges or the hard feelings or the anger that you have against some loved one that you'll let go? How would you spend that time? That's something to think about. And when you get home tonight, think about that. Give it some thought and live as much of it as you can, because we don't know. We all have an expiration date. We don't know the time of the day or the hour when our number's going to be up. Let us say together, I deserve the best that life has to offer. I'm willing to work on myself. I'm willing to upgrade my relationships. I'm willing to answer the call on my life. I'm willing to go through some stuff to get to my stuff. It's worth it to me. It gives my life meaning and significance. I'm here for a reason. I'm ready to live life on my terms. And let us say together, you gotta be hungry. I never forget Mr. Washington said, Mr. Brown, what do you want to do with your life, young man? I said, sir, I want to take care of my mother. He said, how do you plan to do that? I said, I'd like to become a disc jockey. He said, you gotta be hungry. I said, what do you mean by that? He said, people that are hungry are willing to do the things today others won't do in order to have the things tomorrow others won't have. He said, people that are hungry are relentless and unstoppable. No excuse is acceptable. People that are hungry work on themselves. How do you plan to do that? How do you plan to get the money to take care of your mother? What do you bring to the table of life, Mr. Brown? Sir, I want to be a disc jockey. That's what I want to do. I want to be on radio. Good. Here are my car keys. What do I need this for? Well, there's a guy named Paul Harvey. He does a program called The Rest of the Story. He's the best storyteller on radio. Listen to him. You want to be successful? He said, watch and study people that are doing what it is you want to do. Those who master it, and you want to study them. Success leaves clues. I said, yes, sir, I will. And I listened to this guy, Paul Harvey, every day. And finally, I said, Mr. Washington, I've done what you told me to do. I listened to him, and I've created my own program. You told me it's better to be prepared for an opportunity and not have one than to have an opportunity and not be prepared. Yes, I did, Mr. Brown. I said, well, I've done that, sir. I have my own concept, my own show. I've been practicing. I've visualized myself being on the air like you told me. Good. Let us say together, relationship capital. You want to create relationship capital. You can't do it by yourself. You can't do it by yourself. Relationship capital. Al brings a set of skills and values and imagination and energy and creativeness and unstoppable spirit that helps me go to that next level. The things I'm going to be able to do with him that I could never do by myself, in spite of the fact that I've been doing this before he was born. I believe you're never too old to learn, and you're never too young to teach. And so that's relationship capital. It's paying off for me and my children in a variety of ways. And so he said, here's my card. Go to WMBM radio station. Tell them I told you to go there. Milton Butterball Smith is a program director. I went to the radio station, and I'll never forget, as I was leaving his room, he said, "You got to be hungry." I said, "Yes, sir. I'm hungry, sir, to take care of my mother. I'm hungry to set her down. I'm hungry to pay all the bills and provide for her." Good. "Hello, Mr. Butterball. How are you, sir? My name is Les Brown, sir. I'd like to be a disc jockey." "Young man, do you have any journalism in your background?" "No, sir, I don't." "Have any experience in broadcasting at all?" "No, sir, I don't." He said, "I'm sorry. We don't have any job for you." How many have ever been rejected? Raise your hands, please. I was devastated with rejection. I went back and I said, "Mr. Washington." They said, "No." He said, "Don't take it personally. Most people are so negative they have to say no 7 times before they say yes." He said, "You got to be hungry." Go back again. I went back again. "Hello, Mr. Butterball. How are you, sir? My name is Les Brown, sir. I'd like to be a disc jockey." "I know what your name is. Weren't you here yesterday?" "Yes, sir." "Didn't I tell you no yesterday?" "Yes, sir, you did." "Then why are you back today?" "Well, sir, I didn't know whether or not somebody was laid off or somebody was fired, sir." "No one was laid off or fired. Now, get on out of here." I came back the next day, talking loud, looking happy, like I was seeing him for the first time. "Hello, Mr. Butterball. How are you, sir? My name is Les Brown, sir. I'd like to be a disc jockey." "I know what your name is. Weren't you here the last 2 days?" "Yes, sir." "Didn't I tell you no the last 2 days?" "Yes, sir." Then why are you back today?" "Sir, I didn't know whether or not someone got sick or someone died, sir." "No one got sick or died. No one was laid off or fired. Now don't you come back here again." I came back the next day, talking loud, looking happy, like I was seeing him for the first time. "Hello, Mr. Butterball. How are you?" He looked at me betrayed. He says, "Go get me some coffee." I said, "Yes, sir." The book of life says, "The greatest among you will be your servant." How many of you are serious about your goals and dreams? Raise your hands, please. This is one. Repeat after me, please. Provide more service than you get paid for. Provide more service than you get paid for. Yeah, see, most people work just hard enough to keep from being fired. No. You want to provide more service than you get paid for. Why? People form habits, and habits create futures. And so I became the errand boy for the disc jockeys. I'd go get their lunch and their dinner, and I'd stand in the control room watching them work their hands on the control board, knowing my time will come. I want you to think about your golden dream right now. Let us say together, "I expect to win. I see it. I feel it. It's my time." And so the disc jockeys were impressed with me serving them and being a resource, the go-to person. And when they would come out on the weekend and look at their cars be waxed and clean inside out, and they said, "Hey, who did this?" "I did, sir." "How much you charge, young boy?" "Oh, nothing, sir. I just wanted to help out." They looked at me differently. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. He said, "Listen, Donna Ross and Supremes are coming to town. The Four Tops and the Temptations. I want you to pick them up and drive them to the Fontainebleau Hotel on Miami Beach." "Be my pleasure, sir." I would drive these entertainers all over Miami Beach in disc jockeys, big long Cadillacs. I didn't have any driver's license, but I was driving like I had something. Then one day, is a Saturday afternoon, a disc jockey by the name of Rockin' Roger was drinking while he was on the air. Rockin' Roger began to slur his words. It's a Saturday afternoon, and I was the only one there, looking at him through the control room window, walking back and forth, young, ready, and hungry. I was saying, "Drink, Rock, drink. Drink, Rock." I'd have gone and get him some more if he'd asked me to. Then pretty soon the phone rang. It was a general manager, and I answered the phone. I said, "Hello?" He said, "Young boy, this is Mr. Klein." I said, "I know." He said, "Rock can't finish the program." I said, "I know." He said, "Would you call one of the other DJs in?" I said, "Yes, sir." I hung the phone up. I said, "Now he must think I'm crazy." I called my mom and my girlfriend, Cassandra. I said, "Y'all come out on the front porch and turn on the radio. I'm about to come on the air." I waited for about 20 minutes, and I called him back and said, "Mr. Klein, I can't find nobody." He said, "Young boy, you know how to work the controls?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Go in there and segue the records, but don't you say nothing here." I said, "Yes, sir." I couldn't wait to get old Rock out of the way. I put on a fast record by Stevie Wonder called Fingertips. I said, look out, this is me, LB, Triple P, Les Brown, your platter playing papa. There were none before me and there will be none after me. Therefore, that makes me the one and only. Young and single and love to mingle, certified, bona fide, dutifully qualified to bring you satisfaction and a whole lot of action. Look out, baby, I'm your love man. I was hungry. I was hungry. Shake someone's hand on your right and left and say, you got to be hungry. Do that right now. Shake someone's hand on your right and left and say, you got to be hungry. In front of you and behind you. People that are hungry, believe, always strive to get on top in life because it's the bottom that's overcrowded. People that are hungry, believe, do what you know, not what you feel. People that are hungry believe, as Henry David Thoreau, who said, do not go where the path may lead, go where there's no path and leave a trail. People that are hungry believe in building a legacy, living a life of significance, making an impact, live from their faith and not from their fears. People that are hungry are people like you. I'm looking at greatness in this room. There's a calling on your life. I don't know you. Here's what I know. Listen to that still small voice within. I didn't listen for years because for a long period of my life, I was temporarily insane. How many of y'all could identify with me? Come on, right? I was crazy. I said, it can't be me. Come on, Lord. You know, I got 10 children, 5 girls and 5 boys. I'm a baby Christian. Lord said, be fruitful and multiply. I took him seriously. But I'm like the lady who said, Lord, I ain't what I ought to be, ain't what I'm going to be. And thank God I showed him what I was. When I pray now, I get down on my knees. I know God is just cracking up. Say, I can't believe you. There you are now. Yeah, you got cancer now. You're down on your knees. Yeah, I see you. Yeah, this thing called life.
How can people develop a hunger in themselves, and why is it so important?
I was downtown with my mother. I was around 5 years old. And my mother, she adopted altogether. She took in foster kids, 7. And I was one among the 7. Then she adopted us. I let go of her hand. It was about 95 degrees downtown Miami. And I ran up to a water fountain and I started drinking. And all of a sudden I felt her hand. She said, don't you ever do that again. She snatched me down. And she began to punch me in the face and the head, and just beating me fiercely like she didn't know me. I said, Mama, it's me, Mama, it's me. And then a white policeman came over and he had a billy club. And he was hitting it in his hand. He said, okay, you can let that little nigger boy go now. I won't have to do it. And he looked at me with my busted lip and eyes swollen and started laughing as he walked away. That'll teach you. And my mother, as she helped me up, she began to cry. I was crying because of the pain of the punches and the blows. She was crying because she beat her baby boy. I said, Mama, why did you beat me like that? She said, when I saw that white policeman's face turn red, and he gripped his nightstick and he was coming towards you to hit you, I had to think fast and do something to distract him. Because had he hit you, Leslie, he would have had to kill me. And I did the best thing that I knew how. I'm so sorry, son. I'm so sorry. Mama loved you. I didn't mean to beat you like that. I said, Mama, it didn't hurt that badly. And so, you know, doing it when you're a kid, mothers kissed apart to make it well.
I said, right here. I got the one out there. She would kiss it. I said, I got another one over here. She said, just shut up. I knew then I was living in a different world. I got to tell you this. I have never talked about this publicly. I worked for a guy named Joe. And Joe was really fond of me. And I admired him. And I used to do odd jobs for him. And he invited me to his house during the time. Now, mind you, I'm 75, so segregation is in the South. And this is unusual. And he invited me. He wanted me to know that he was liberal, invited me to his house to have dinner. So he introduced me to his wife. And then his son came over, and his daughter-in-law, and their little girl named Alice. And I spoke to all of them. And so Alice, she was around 5, and she came around, and I said, hello, Alice. She said, hi. And then she came around, and she came behind me. And all of a sudden, I felt something behind me, at the bottom of the chair. She was moving a hand below my butt. I said, Alice, what are you doing? And she said, where is it? I said, where's what? Where's your tail? And I looked at Joe and his wife and his son and daughter-in-law. I said, I clipped it off. She said, why? I said, because when I sat down, it would hurt. What'd you do with it? I said, just threw it away. She said, will it grow back? I said, no. Oh, and then she was just so disappointed. She stomped to her chair and she sat down. She said, you shouldn't have cut it off. I was waiting to see it when Grandpa said that you were coming for dinner. I said, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. And we went on to have dinner. Eric, as we were having dinner, she continued to talk and asked me different questions about my tail. How long I had it? How long did it take it to grow? I said, it didn't take very long. I said, I had it since I was born. I'm trying to hold a conversation with this little 5-year-old, and they are about to go under the table. Their faces look red as cherries. And so when I got ready to go, she said, I'm not going to forgive you for clipping off your tail. I said, I'm sorry, Alice. Had I known you would want to see it, I would not have clipped it off. I'm so sorry. And so I said, bye, everybody, but she would not say bye to me. She just looked away like, cut your tail off. Don't say bye to me. And so when we got in the car, Joe was driving me home, and the car was very silent. And by the time we got to my street, he started to say something. I said, Joe, it's okay. It's okay. So you take care. And he drove off. And I sat down on my doorstep and I cried because I thought I knew this guy. I thought he was my friend. I had no idea that he had taught his granddaughter how to damn tail. I was so hurt, Eric. I had to collect myself before going in the house. And Mama said, Leslie, you all right? I said, no, man, Mama, what's wrong? I said, nothing, how's Joe? I said, he's doing real good. And I wouldn't tell her, because I knew that would have broke her heart. And that night, I was just thinking about how, signs that I'd seen on Miami Beach, Jews, dogs, and coloreds not allowed. And I remember asking my mother, why do they hate us so badly? And she said, Leslie, I don't know, but don't you ever be like them. You hear me? Don't you ever be like them. God is love. The scripture says God is love, and he who dwelleth in love dwelleth in God, and God in him. And I made a commitment. I'm Amy Brown's baby boy, to live a life of love. That How you feel about me, Eric, is none of my spiritual business. It's how I feel about myself that's most important. And everybody don't operate at that level of consciousness. But it created a fierceness in me. I knew there were two worlds, and it's a hunger to take care of my mother, the hunger to provide for her, the hunger to buy her a home. It gave birth to that hunger. Hearing my mother having to clap her hands when she went into another room to look for a hat for Miss Harris. Miss Harris, how you doing? Great. Mamie, do you see it? No, I don't. Mama, what is it, Leslie? Why are you clapping your hands? Don't you worry about it. You just do what you're supposed to do. Miss Harris said, clean the spots off the floor. She came out. I don't see it, Miss Harris. Go in the other room, Mamie. She went in the other room. Mama started clapping her hands again. Mama, why are you clapping your hands? Didn't I tell you, boy, to do what you're supposed to do? Miss Harris came over to me. I can tell you why she's clapping her hands. Because when I have colored people looking for something and I can't see them, I make them clap their hands to make sure they're not stealing. I dropped the washcloth. And during this time, you weren't allowed to look white people in the eyes. I looked her in the eyes and I said, my mother is not a thief. She would not steal from you or anybody. She's not a thief. Then I got back down and I started scrubbing that floor and slinging water everywhere, tears coming out of my eyes. On the way back to Overtown in Liberty City on the bus, I wasn't talking. She said, Leslie, yes ma'am, what's wrong with you? I said, I'm mad. She said, why? I want to be a man. Why? You'll be a man soon enough. I said, no, I want to be a man now. She said, why? I said, if I was a man, you would never cook for anybody but us. If I was a man, we would not have to eat food left over from the families that you cook for. If I was a man, we would not have to wear hand-me-down clothes that somebody else has worn for a year. If I was a man, nobody will make you clap your hands because they think that you're stealing. She said, Miss Harris told you that, didn't she? I said, yes, ma'am. And I just turned and looked out the window. And she said, Leslie, it's going to be all right, son. That gave birth, Eric, the hunger in me. That nobody would ever make my mother clap her hands again because they think that she's stealing. That my mother, one day, because of my becoming actively engaged in the fight that people are doing right now, that kids would not get the hell beat out of them because they drank from a water fountain that said for whites only. That's why I used radio to bring about social justice. And it caused me to be the person that I am. It created a hunger to create a better world. It created a hunger to live a life that will outlive me. That's why I train speakers to become messengers of hope, because when there's hope in the future, that gives you power in the present, and get people to live out of their imagination rather than their education and their indoctrination, and help them to have an expanded vision of who we are and how we can show up in life. So you asked the question, be careful what you ask for.
No, I'm glad. I mean, because here's the thing. Here's the thing. I've known you for, what, 25 years? Something
At least.
That? Yeah,
Over
I've known you a long
years.
time. And some of these stories I've never heard.
And my stories and my history is right. Notice I said help people live out of their imagination and not out of history. My history has never interfered with our relationship.
Right.
The breadth of knowledge. You have to be a furious consumer of all types of information. Would you agree that that is becoming a lost art? Or do you see, I don't see folks doing what you're able to do.
People who don't do what I do have skinny children. You've got to be willing to learn. I mean, just think about this. When you look at how things are now, the things that we know now, if you go to college, within a year, everything you've learned is obsolete and you're in debt. Thousands of dollars you've spent, okay? So when you look at where we are right now, you can learn anything. People are getting degrees online. Frederick Douglass was beaten within an inch of his life because when the slave master came home and saw his wife teaching him how to read, he took him out in the backyard, tied his hands on a fence, and beat him with a whip. And the wife saying, "Why are you doing this to him?" And Frederick Douglass had crawled under the house and heard the slave master say to his wife, "Don't ever teach a slave to read, because once he learns how to read, he'll never be happy being a slave."
Let's talk about the book.
Yes.
This isn't your first go around the publishing. Why this book right now?
Why this book?
Why this book? Why this time?
Because in order for us to make it in a culture where we have been considered less than, in order for us to make it in a culture for several centuries that we were considered 3/4 human, this culture where there were laws that said a black man has no rights in which a white man has to respect. In this culture, with systems and structures that are put in place to prevent you from making it, in order to do it, those who went before us and those who are now breaking through, you got to be hungry. People that are hungry are unstoppable. People that are hungry know you will fail your way to success. People that are hungry are relentless and unstoppable, and they're willing to do what it takes in order to get what they want. They won't settle for the things as they are now. People that are hungry, they know their vitamin. They have blood in their eyes. The reason that Claudio is from Brazil, and this young man who's here, he rode in the back of a truck with several other people for 23 hours with a hunger for a better life for his mother, for his brother, for his sister. And against all odds, he was able to get here. Here, couldn't speak the language, didn't know the culture. And within 8 months, he had his own business. Statistics indicate that the average immigrant have a 3 to 4 times greater chance of buying a home, having their own business before the average American. Why? Because they're hungry. Just think about this. Alonzo Herndon, his parents, they were slaves. He was a slave. And then they became sharecroppers. But he had an ambition. He wanted more. And he trained himself how to cut hair. And he had high standards, just like you and your partners. So he had a barbershop that was called the Crystal Palace. He had chandeliers in a barbershop. All the barbers were black, but because it was so high quality that white people, the power structure, the politicians, wealthy people came there to get their haircuts, all right? Because of racism during that time, he couldn't get a haircut in his own barbershop. Now, I speak all over the world. I probably get, this is the second event to a black audience that I've spoken to. Tavis Smiley invited me, and you invited me. In my career, listen to me. In my career, this is the third interview that I've had by an African American. In my career, I have no speaking engagements being invited to speak to African Americans. None. Oh, don't applaud that. Yo, but they hire comedians. They pay money for entertainers. And so just think about this. I've been doing this for 52 years. All right? And so when you think about that, why? is that we've been conditioned to buy into entertainment as opposed to things that can empower us. Your vision, just think about this. Your vision for this place was not where people can just come and gather and be entertained. You wanted to have a place that people can engage in a process that will decrease the level of their unconscious self-hatred, to increase their sense of deservingness and have a sense of mission and purpose and direction with their lives. And God asked Adam, Adam, where are you? That was not a position question. You want to know, where are you in terms of your thinking? Life is God's gift to us, and how we live our lives is our gift to God. Everybody here, you and I, we were chosen out of 400 million sperm. You have something, you have something, you have something, you have something that was not here before we showed up. We were not sent here to be groomed to get a job. We were deployed because you are a piece of the master. You're a masterpiece. There's something in you that when you don't show up, the world suffers.
And I want to begin to talk about this amazing book with a quote, direct quote from your book. You said, Dr. Miles Monroe, the great preacher and orator, said, the wealthiest place on the planet is not in the Far East, where there is oil in the ground. It's not in South Africa, where there are diamond mines. The wealthiest place on the planet is the cemetery, for there you will find leaders who have never stepped up, innovators or innovations the world has never been exposed to, talents and potential never realized. I am reminded of another man who said, oh God, to reach the point of death only to realize you have never lived, only to realize that you never scraped the surface of your potential. I remember reading about a woman who had just left the doctor's office after having been told she had terminal cancer. She made herself a cup of coffee when she returned home, and as she sipped it, she suddenly, filled with anger, with rage, and hurled the cup against the wall and shattered it in many pieces. And as she threw it, she screamed out, I refuse to die an unlived life. And then ending that section, you said this, the only way that you can break through the atmosphere and reach higher altitudes is by being hungry. Hunger is the most crucial element of creating your greatest life. I love this book because I thought that was a great way of capturing our attention. Why this subject of hunger? And using that as an analogy or metaphor, why did you choose to use hunger as a metaphor for desire?
If you are casual about your dream, you will end up a casualty with your dreams. That most people unconsciously die long before they're buried because they don't realize that they have been marginalized, that they live in a culture where they're told more about what they cannot do rather than what they can do. We've been programmed to think in terms of being one-dimensional, of being an employee, of going to college, graduating, getting a job, working for 40 years, expecting to retire on 40%, which wasn't enough in the first place. The 40-40 plan is gone. It's been interrupted. And so, but most people are not aware of that. The great anthropologist, Margaret Mead, was in London, and she was having dinner. So one of the waiters said, you know, there's several Americans here tonight. And so she said to her guest, let me show you something. She said, let me know when you serve them dessert, and I'll tell you exactly how many are here. He said, you couldn't possibly. She said, just let me know when you serve them dessert. And so when he left, he came back, he said, okay, I've served them dessert. She got up and she walked around and she said, there are 35 Americans in this restaurant. He looked at the roster. He was shocked. He said, how did you know that? She said, in the UK, when you eat a slice of pie or cake, you eat it from the crust toward the tip. In America, when we eat a slice of pie or cake, we eat it from the tip toward the crust. How do you eat a slice of pie?
I eat a slice of pie from the crust to the tip.
Yeah, now, so you're an exception because you came up in a British culture.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So, but the average American will eat a slice of pie from the tip toward the crust. Well, no one told us to do that. We just picked it up. For instance, before 1980, you walk around, you would not see people with tattoos. The majority of people that you see today have tattoos. Where'd that come from? How could that happen? What created that? There was no advertising on television saying, go out and get a tattoo. Well, in America, we incarcerate more people than any place else in the world. And in prison, you're not allowed to draw on the walls. You're not allowed to use your artistic skills on the walls of the prison. There's a penalty. You'll be penalized. You'll be put in the hole in solitary confinement. So they're bored. They have nothing else to do. And so they write on each other's bodies. They write tattoos. So now, when you see people today, all on television and commercials, you see tattoos everywhere. Nobody told them to go out and get it. But being in the culture, there's some things that you pick up. And so picking up a limited vision of yourself is natural when you're in a culture that does not recognize your greatness, that does not recognize your humanity, and create a culture that is designed to destroy your sense of self. And so in order to break out of that, to realize that you are made in the likeness and image of God, to realize that you've been given authority and dominion over everything on the face of the earth, that it takes everything in you. People that are hungry are unstoppable. People that are hungry are relentless. People that are hungry will find a way to win. People that are hungry will not take no for an answer. People that are hungry won't give up. They will persist until they succeed. That's what's required to make it today.
Yes, definitely.
We talked about, I want to kick this off as far as hunger, right? Is a huge message for you, and it's part of your new book, which we'll talk about. I remember one of your stories is when you were going door to door knocking, and you said you got rejected, and your friend got rejected. The difference was he could go home to food and you couldn't.
Yes.
So you had to go on and stay hungry. I'm curious if you step into the shoes of that other gentleman who has his needs met. How do you create that hunger? So I get it if you're in a low spot, but if you're not, how do you create that hunger in someone?
I think that it's a choice.
Yeah.
All of us have areas of our lives that we can make a choice. I have a friend who he's lived a criminal life, and he had a hunger for the dark side. I would say, man, you know what? As many times that you've been in and out of jail, you should have found Jesus by now. Okay? I'm a person, I go to the bathroom, I leave the door cracked. Okay? Come on. I mean, being locked up is not my idea of a good time.
Yeah, I agree.
But he did not care. We make decisions, and our decisions make us.
Yes.
And I believe that there are people who say, this is where I want to go with my life. Robert Frost, and he talks about two roads diverge in a yellow wood, and then I selected the one less traveled by. And that has made all the difference. The road to life is straight and narrow, and few there be that find it, because few there be that are willing to choose that path that requires discipline, perseverance, and persistence in order to live a larger life. It's a choice.
Yeah.
And many people, because it's easier to go down that path that's no resistance. I have this quote I love very much, that life is a fight for territory. And once you stop fighting for what you want, what you don't want will automatically take over.
Yes.
And if you go through life looking for doing and getting out of life the things you want, following the easy path, you're going to have challenges. If you do what is easy, your life will be hard.
Right.
But if you do what is hard, discipline yourself, monitor yourself, have accountability partners. If you do what is hard, your life will be easy.
Yeah.
And so most people choose the easy path, and sadly enough, they'll die before they change.
Yeah.
9 out of 10. There's a book called Change or Die.
And they did this study in the area of a hospital of cardiology patients who had recurring heart attacks, David Dushman. And they said to them, if you follow this program of plant-based diet, exercise, keeping stress to a minimum, social support, you will not have a recurring heart attack. But if you don't, that next heart attack will kill you. Everybody was clear on that. Within 90 days, 9 out of 10 stopped following the routine.
Wow.
And all of them had a heart attack. The only one that did survive, was former Vice President Cheney, who was a part of the study.
Yeah.
So most people would rather die than choose to do what's required, to live a more expanded life, to live a life that counts, and that's an asset to the world rather than a liability.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
When I think about the three pillars of something that would be your anchor, a foundation to drive you into the future, to live a big dream, to live a big life, a mindset, what you think about, you bring about. You know, as a man thinketh, so is he. Dr. Carter G. Woodson said that if you can determine what a man shall think, you never have to concern yourself with what he will do. He said, if you can make a man feel inferior, you never have to compel him to seek an inferior status, for you will seek it himself. And if you can make a man feel justly an outcast, you never have to order him to go to the back door. He'll go without being told. And if there's no door, his very nature will demand one. And I think that in many cases, governments and religious institutions have really unwittingly crushed the dreams and aspirations and the visions that people had of themselves. Not all, but a lot of them. And I think it's incumbent upon the individual to take responsibility, to develop yourself, to expand your mind and your vision, to seek out experiences. You know, Helen Keller said life should be a daring adventure, it's boring. And start to dream. What do you want? What do you really want for your life? I remember going to Auschwitz and walking down the halls in the Nazi German concentration camps and seeing the pictures of men and women who had dreams. And these people were exterminated. One of the things that I heard in my mind when I reflected on a book written by Viktor Frankl, who was there, he said, if you know the why for living, you can endure almost anyhow. And he talked about the people who were able to survive the inexpressible cruelties of Nazism, those who either believed in God or had someone that they loved that they were determined to see, or some cause bigger than themselves. And in my case, my goal was to buy my mother a home. That was my big dream. And that caused me to read things and to listen to things, to fuel my imagination. And then to develop my skills to becoming a voice of influence. And the other thing that's important is creating a community of collaborative, achievement-driven, supportive relationships. And it started with a man, Mr. Washington, who said, a high school teacher, someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. It could start with one person, and then it goes from there. I started associating with people who were doing what I wanted to do. I joined a multi-level marketing group called Best Line Products. When I heard the voice of a guy that when he spoke, it seemed like he was talking to me. I was in a hotel at a convention and Bill Bailey spoke and he was selling this dream. I didn't even know the products, but I wanted to be a part of it. And what I found, and one of the great things about multi-level marketing, is that it puts you in a community of other like-minded people. I think that's the value and the power of associations of different kinds. Associating with people who share your values, associating with people, like-minded people who have dreams, who have goals that they're working on, and being in that community. Studies indicate that one goose can fly 40% further in formation with other geese than can ever fly by itself. In fact, I'm thinking about a scientific study where they exposed some rats to electronic shock, and after they increased it, it killed them instantly. But then they put these rats in groupings with other shocks, with other rats. And then what happened was that they continued to increase the shocks of these rats, and they increased it over 10 times more. And it took far more to kill them than what it took with just one. And so there's something about being in a community of people who share your dream, who hold you accountable, who challenge you, who call you out, who can see what you can't see that you have within you, and inspire you to step up. Ebony Magazine, the late John H. Johnson, who started that with a $500 loan from his mother. And he said something in his book called Making It Against All Odds. There's no defense against an excellence that meets a pressing public need. And I suggest to you, one, work on yourself. To me, I think there are 3 pillars of what's required in order to carve out your place in this global economy. There are many steps, but there are 3 that I think that's indispensable. One is working on your mind. Be ye not conformed to this world, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. The second is of having a mindset and willing to discipline yourself, to make the sacrifice, to engage in ongoing self-study for self-growth and development, developing your communication skills. I can hear Mr. Washington now say, Mr. Brown, develop your communication skills, because once you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are. Nelson Mandela said, if you speak from your mind, you speak in a language that a man can understand. But when you speak from your heart, you speak in his language. And so my goal in teaching people how to create mass appeal, how to change lives, that you have to change yourself. It starts with you. And then you begin to see from your experience how you can begin to impact and influence others and be a voice of change. And that ability really will allow you to carve out a place for yourself in the marketplace. And the methods and the techniques, the simplicity of how you language what you say. Einstein said that genius is the capacity to take the complicated and make it simple. And so when you are creating change and mass appeal, keeping it simple, but being the message that you bring, and loving it, and standing in your power, and realize that you're here for a reason. I believe to make a difference. I believe to do a great work. I believe to live a life, as Jim Rohn said, when you live your life, he said, your life can be either an example or it's a warning of what not to do, or an example of what to do and what's possible. 85% of them reach their goals because of their attitude, 15% because of their aptitude. Now, to me, that was big, because I was in special education. I was labeled educable mentally retarded. So I say, whoa, that means I don't have to be the smartest guy in the room. That if I have a winner's attitude, that I've got a shot, that I could make it, that I don't have to live a life of being average. I wanted to live a life of meaning, of purpose. Being adopted, I wanted to do something for my mother. And so by listening to motivational messages and reading on a regular basis, it really taught me the value of using your time to work on yourself, to develop yourself, to really restructure your belief system for what was possible for you. It really expanded my vision of myself. And so to me, that's what it means about mass appeal, because I was working on myself. Then I started sharing it with others, and I noticed a difference in them when I shared with them the things that I was doing, because they saw the difference in me. And it's been said that a career is something you love so much you do it for nothing, but you do it so well that people will pay you to do it. So as I talked with and shared with my friends what I was doing and what was possible for them, I eventually evolved into this life of where I am. And as a result, I carved out a market for myself. And because this is my passion, this is what I've spent the majority of my life doing, I've developed a level of expertise, a level of strength and power and reputation in this area that created a demand for myself. To me, one of the most important things and the first step in changing lives is to have a program for yourself. When I started on this path, that was what my goal was to change me. Given my circumstances, I think that, psychologists say that we create a mental blueprint between the ages of 1 and 5, that between that time, we determine what's available for us and what's not available for us. And so, given my circumstances, being born in an abandoned building on a floor in a poor section of Miami, Florida, I became interested in a path of developing myself. I remember shining the shoes of Mr. Sidursky, this man that my mother worked for, very wealthy on Miami Beach. She cleaned his home and she cooked for the family and kept the children. And he listened to motivational messages unbeknownst to me. That was programming my mind, and it created a thirst within me to get on this path. I remember listening to Earl Nightingale, who said, "You don't get in life what you want, you get in life what you are." And so to me, reading became an out. It became a tool that I used to develop myself. And not just reading for enjoyment, but reading for personal growth, reading to look at those things that I read and to apply them in my lives. And I would read sometimes at night from 60, 100 pages a night, sometimes a whole book. And then I would underline the book and I would think about them, I would memorize them, and then I would apply them. I would try them out. Because one of the things he said, they did a study of some top achievers and leaders around the world, over 3,000, to find out what was the common denominator among them that enabled them to reach their goals.